Everybody listen to We're Not Wizards, because we are the best, and we're not wizards, no matter what anybody says. Goodbye.
Welcome to another episode of We're Not Wizards. My name's Richard. I'll be your host, and it's so hot outside. I can't believe it. Again, I mean, it's almost like we're in summer. It's like August, the height of summer, but that doesn't matter. What I wanted to do is I wanted to relax and chill out and be by the pool. And I couldn't be by the pool, so I needed to be by a fish tank. But that's in the past, because we're no longer near a fish tank. Because we've got these guys back. Now, when you come back on the show, you're officially a repeat offender. So with me, I've got two gentlemen that came together and decided, luckily, that their surnames made the best part, or the best kind of gaming kind of company name you could come up with, which is quite literally Winsmith Games. So I've got David Smith. And I've got Travis Winstead. And they're not here to talk about 10-gallon tanks. They're moving on. They're here to talk about their junk drawer, which we're going to get into an awful lot. Right. So, hey guys, hey gentlemen, how are you? First of all, are you well? Let's just pick Travis for this one. Are you well, Travis?
Very well. I think since the last time we talked, I had another kid. Dave, did you have two? Two kids?
Dave's a victim of COVID lockdown.
Real bored,
basically.
Really good. I mean, the pandemic was obviously put a lot of things on hold in terms of also going to conventions. But we were able to go to a number of them this year, and so we're back, baby. We're back.
And are you saying that? Are you saying that to David just now?
We're back, baby.
We're back, baby. We're back on the show. We're back in the car. We're kind of, because obviously 10-gallon tank went on and it funded pretty well, and kind of you obviously fulfilled that and left you with like kind of lots of lovely backers, and they all got their games. And I take it, did that then, were you kind of like, oh, we've got to do the difficult second album now? How far along was kind of Junk Drawer ready to go, and how much did you need to put it off to one side because of the effects of the pandemic then?
It was pretty far along in development after we'd done 10-gallon tank. Actually, Junk Drawer spawned off of 10-gallon tank during the design and development of 10-gallon tank. There was one point Travis and I were talking, and he had thought about an idea of like, what if mechanically you are collecting fish of different sizes and you're trying to fit them in aquariums, and maybe you have different aquariums that give you points in different ways. And so we kind of took that idea, took it to the side, and kind of worked on that, and realized mechanically it was just a different game. So we split that off, and so that's what eventually became Junk Drawer. And Junk Drawer has been in development for like over 3 years. It's been ready for a while, but given the pandemic and our focus on 10-gallon tank, and due to the craziness of like international freight and logistics and everything, we decided to wait a little bit, and until recently. So we held off our Junk Drawer Kickstarter for a while.
So Travis, jumping on to you about the logistics side of things, did that, I take it the 10-gallon tank was already fully fulfilled by the time the kind of logistics crisis kind of really kind of stepped in? Because it's becoming a crisis. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of, I follow a lot of Kickstarter campaigns, and I'm getting updates from a lot of people saying, and it's not the small guys, it's really the big guys who are kind of hunking kind of 2 tons of plastic in every single type of box. I think the most recent one was I keep getting this name wrong, but I think it's Oathsworn. And they literally went, guys, we're $250,000 in the red here. We kind of need you to kind of pitch in and help out. So when it came to you looking at the logistics and even the manufacturer for Junk Drawer, did you consider looking back into the US for kind of getting the manufacturing done this time when it came to Junk Drawer, or is it still cost prohibitive and still worthwhile kind of taking the punt with getting it made in China?
It's interesting that you say that. So yes, we did just dodge the shipping issues with 10-gallon tanks. So luckily we were able to fund in February, and we fulfilled around September, October. So we missed all that, thankfully. But yeah, I mean, it's really driven a lot of decisions for us for price point. We hadn't considered the US until just recently. And so we do have a couple quote requests out to US folks. I did talk with some folks, and I think it still might be cheaper to do overseas and just pay the freight, but freight is about as expensive as producing the game, if not more. And so that is definitely, we're feeling the pain just as a small publisher. And so, yeah, I mean, we're hoping that the shipping costs continue to come down a little bit as we fund. But one of the decisions we made with Junk Drawer is that we didn't do with 10-gallon tank is collect shipping after. So we collected shipping for Junk Drawer or for 10-gallon tank during the campaign. Yeah. And that worked out fine. But now we just, based on the things like the Oathsworn or some other examples, having to wait to charge shipping, and also we've subsidized some shipping ourselves because it's too much to ask backers to take it all on. So that obviously eats up into margin.
Is it a case that the manufacturing in America can it just not deal with kind of looking at manufacturing myself and realizing if you were going kind of like here in the UK and even into Europe, they were wanting like thousands of orders in order to take on your order in the first place. And then the pricing didn't start to kind of nicely break down and make it more affordable until you were kind of like, you were literally having to print kind of like 2,500, 3,000, 5,000 units before you were kind of getting the economy of scale, I think as Jamie Stegmaier or world economists probably say. So is that what you found when you were looking at potential manufacturers in the States as well?
Yep. That they require a lot higher minimum order quantity. And I think it's also because they might do a lot of the production of smaller but more accessible games, like games that go to Walmart or Target where they're ordering 50,000 units at a time. Yeah. So for us to be able to get, custom components and a die mold and all that stuff, we probably have to, we're going to have to pay a premium. And those upfront costs get, added into your unit price. Whereas if you had 50,000 units, it's pennies. But if you only have 2,000 units, it's dollars. So yeah, it makes it really tough. We're still jury's still out as to whether those quotes will come in lower or similar. So we're still waiting on that information.
Okay. Did the pandemic have an effect on your So I was like, this is a question that's forming in my head, and you stop yourself kind of halfway through saying something. But I was going to say, did the pandemic have an effect on your relationship in terms of the development side of things? I didn't mean was like they're less kind of high fives and kind of beers on the porch together. But are you pretty local to each other that you were still able to see each other through the pandemic, or did that were you kind of living almost like separate lives for a little while you were kind of waiting for the plague to pass?
Yeah, Travis and I both are local to Northern Virginia in the States, outside the Washington, D.C. Yeah. And also us being really close friends, it didn't really make it any that much more difficult for us to see each other. Maybe the first few months where as families and we're really navigating and making those kinds of decisions of how comfortable are we to see anyone.
Yeah.
But after a few months, I mean, we started talking, you know, with other really close friends and family and decide like, hey, you know, we're comfortable seeing these friends, you know, this weekend and, you know, going from there. So the biggest impact really was not as many game nights, or game nights kind of became digital on like Tabletop Simulator and Discord.
Yeah.
So like the in-person game nights have, you know, stopped for a long time, and now have even obviously slowed down some. So, but in terms of getting together, hanging out, even doing play testing, we're still able to do that for the most part. It really was the first few months where, first few months of 2020 where we're really navigating our decisions and comfort level and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then obviously you went off and had whole bunches of kids amongst you. I mean, there's like, from what you were saying earlier, there's like an extra 3 game designers kind of ready to just go out there and keep the Winsmith name kind of going, which is kind of exciting. Did you end up kind of considering kind of an implementation on, say, Board Game Arena or Tabletop Simulator or Tabletopia or anything like that then, Travis, for either 10 Gallon Tank or for Junk Drawer?
Both, actually. I mean, the pandemic forced us to actually put together Tabletop Simulator mods, which actually was very helpful because not only did we learn Tabletop Simulator, but for those games, but then Dave started putting them into some of his other games that he was testing into Tabletop Simulator as well. So that was definitely helpful. We haven't really gone outside of Tabletop Simulator. That was when we knew the best. But there are some other platforms that we're considering after, you know, Junk Drawer funds, fingers crossed. But yeah, that was pretty much a forcing function, especially when we did do Gen Con online one of the years, and they had so people signed up to do all digital playtests, and so we had a TTS mod and people kind of coming in and out playing the game, which was cool.
Does that open up for more feedback then?
Because
I'm aware that it's obviously a lot easier to say, you know, I knew at the beginning, like, look at it this way, when the pandemic kind of hit us, and basically I remember it was March and there was a convention meant to be on that weekend, and a lot of people I know went. It was AirCon down in a lovely place called Harrogate, and I never went, and I was like, I was happy I did, but I know that in the following months that everybody went Board Game Arena daft. You know, everybody was going on there where they were playing kind of, and I think that really helped not only ramp up Board Game Arena in everybody's kind of immediate vicinity in their area, you know, in their minds, but I think it also had an awful lot to do with Asmodee kind of turning around and saying, right, we're going to acquire these ones just in case the entire country decides to shut down again. So I was very aware that my taste in terms of games, I mean, it's really strange, I had a lot of physical games sitting on the shelf that I couldn't play. So I ended up playing like a whole pile of games on Board Game Arena, and a whole pile of games that I still was absolutely terrible at because I couldn't stop halfway through and say, hey, let me just check the rules here, because it was almost a little bit more trickier to kind of check the rules.
I would say that, to your point, I would just say that actually helped me stop spending as much money on board games because a lot of these games came out on Board Game Arena, and I think Dave would agree, when we first got into the hobby, it was like, buy every board game that you think looks cool, and then some would sit on your shelf, and I still have games I haven't played. But with TTS, you can kind of say, okay, this game, I really want to play it. I don't think I could ever get a group together to play it regularly, but I at least have an opportunity to enjoy the game. And so I've done that on a number of occasions with games. Yeah. Didn't buy them, but we're still able to kind of enjoy them.
And you're able to, like, sorry, you were going to say.
I was going to say, and another thing, one of our other really good friends who we see like twice a year, he just has a knack for like analyzing and like deconstructing a game to choices. And I don't know, his mind's like very development focused and design focused. And so he lives up in upstate New York. He's not close. He's like 10 hours away. But
wow.
Once we started playing games digitally and putting them into Tabletop Simulator, I mean, our friend who we only got to see like twice a year and talk and play games, so infrequently. Now we're playing like every other week with them, and gosh, that was a huge help in terms of just knowing people who could really, help focus the development of a game.
That really helped with the kind of like the playtesting, because I guess you could say to somebody, I just need you to playtest this slight bit and say, look, does this work? Does this number of cards work? And I suppose I know in some cases, if you're a physical hard copy, you can muck around with cards and stuff like that. But I guess it's quite easier to introduce a card in Tabletop Simulator and say, right, we're going to have 4 spaces on this instead of 3 spaces, and just do a quick change in Tabletop Simulator and send it out there. Whereas playtesting, it's probably involving scissors and glue and paper and stuff like that. Right. So did it make doing kind of like making slight changes to the playtest version a little bit easier, or was it the same amount of work really?
It's a little, I don't know, it's pretty similar, because in the digital space of updating Tabletop Simulator, you do have to go through all the cards on spreadsheets. So you still have to type up, the revisions. You have to, then there's another software that we use called Nandeck that takes and reads everything from spreadsheets, and it prints it off into a format that Tabletop Simulator recognizes, and then upload everything. So there are a few steps to it. And the same thing with physical prototypes. It's, if I'm making a whole nother game into a brand new prototype, yes, that takes time. But if I'm just updating a few cards and a few tweaks, it's simple. I've gotten to the point where I can, revise 10 cards in, I don't know, 5 minutes or so.
So then, did you think, was there any point that you sat down and thought, should we just put everything on hold until we know things are going to go back to normal? Or are we just kind of like, well, we're just going to speed ahead anyway. It doesn't matter. We're just going to keep going until we can't go back. We've gone so far now. Going back now is a bit ridiculous. It's a bit silly thing to do.
We did do that for a while. But I think at some point it was kind of like, if not now, when? And we kind of figured, as the shipping crisis stuff started to, go down, and stuff started available to open up, and we knew, it's going to be 8 or 9 months before, the boats leave the ports. Hopefully we'll be in a position where the prices aren't exorbitantly higher, which is why, again, we decided to do shipping afterwards, and we have a table in it that says, like, these are approximate shipping costs. Big old letters, like, these are all approximate and will be charged after the campaign. So that is something that we, it was just, at some point we have to make another game. With conventions coming back, it just seemed like we had to keep going, especially with Junk Drawer, since it was so far along.
We were actually play testing the mechanical design at one of our local designer groups and playtesting groups. And the local group's called Break My Game. It's for local designers and playtesters to get together and try each other's game, build, learn from each other, and, kind of refine them. And we were actually playing with another local designer, and he said something along the lines of like, having these different items and different shapes, placing them in multiple quadrants kind of felt like organizing a junk drawer, and that would be a really neat theme for it. And we talked about that for quite a bit. We, Travis and I talked about what would be a good theme. We bounced a lot of ideas off each other, like it could be organizing flowers in a flower bed, or planting rose bushes, or flower bushes. We talked about doing like a Zen garden style organization, and other more abstract themes like putting items into time capsules, where you could have a lot of fun with what the items were. But Junk Drawer kind of, I don't know, really spoke to us, and we got a decent amount of feedback that it's kind of fun. It's, it's an interesting theme that kind of fits the mechanics of these are random items. So they're all random shaped, and in the game, every tile, every item is a unique shape. So that junk theme kind of fit that style of play. So we met the artist through someone that we have known and, kind of reached out to initially. And she had said that, unfortunately, after talking with her a while, she said that she was unable to, due to, I think, another project, was unable to work with us. But she said she knows a few artists that she reached out to. And we connected with Asha Farmer, who actually happened to be local to us. She's a student. She was a student in Baltimore, Maryland. And she's no longer a student. She's graduated, but we really liked her artwork a lot.
I'm aware that junk in American can mean something else. So are you aware of the potential double entendre in relation to having a junk drawer? Or is that your intention? It was kind of there so immature children like me would look at your game and go,
I think as long as it's not paired with
kind of junk
trunk,
drawer.
I think as long as it's not paired with trunk, we're okay.
Yes. I think that would be...
So
that would
junk
be an
drawer, I think we're okay. But if junk was paired with trunk, we might have an issue.
Yeah. Then it might be... You might end up in some kind of Twitter storm. I think if you ended up
Exactly.
talking about kind of like junk, junk trunk instead of junk. Yeah, I've managed to lower the tone in this entire conversation. You were having a lovely conversation about artwork, and I've just come back in here and made an absolute mess of kind of absolutely everything. So, so that is basically that. But you mentioned that the idea came from almost like an evolution of 10-gallon tank, except what you were looking at was kind of like items of different size. So is that the kind of the basis behind the game? Is it kind of like almost like a Tetrominoes kind of game where you're fitting kind of different sizes of stuff into a drawer?
Exactly. So in the game, players are organizing 21 different items into 4 different compartments, organized compartments of their junk drawer. But every item is a unique shape. So unlike like a game like Tetris, right, where we've all played awesome games, super fun, there are 5 different shapes in Tetris. But in junk drawer, there are 21. And every player has their own set of 21 tiles, and there's no duplicates. And so actually when we were talking about the theme early in the design and development, we were at a local playtesting group for designers and playtesters. They're called Break My Game. Excuse me. One of the local designers had mentioned we didn't really have a theme yet on the game. We were just kind of playtesting, the mechanics of it. And he's like, well, what about like junk drawer? All these are kind of like random items. It's kind of like junk, and you're just organizing it a little bit. So he had mentioned junk drawers as a potential theme, but we talked about lots of different options, like, I don't know, like designing a Zen garden where you have different portions of that, and it's kind of abstract. We talked about like planting flowers in a, flower garden. We talked about more other abstract ones, like placing items into time capsules, where we could have fun with, different items and different themes of items in time capsules. But so, yeah, we definitely talked a lot about the different themes there. Super cool.
Okay, so in terms of kind of doing your research into finding items for junk drawer, how many of the items that are in the game junk drawer are based on items that are in your own junk drawers? And do you both have, and obviously I am probably aware this is a stupid question because you both have kids, but do you both have very active and very full kind of junk drawers that have everything from like scissors to keys to white tack to like mysterious bags, and also one key that you don't know what it's for, you don't know what it unlocks, you've never seen it before in your life, and it's just magically appeared overnight.
Every drawer in my house is a junk drawer.
Yeah, it's not a question of if I have a junk drawer, it's how many junk drawers do I have in every room of the house.
Have you, I'm assuming you've got kind of like young kids. So do they contribute? Do they contribute to the junk drawer? Do they put like helpful things like the TV remote control in the drawer and stuff like that?
The hardest part of it was actually, so Dave mentioned each of the items is unique size. So we started with, just a 1x1, and then it goes all the way up to every combination of a 5x5. There's some funky shapes. And so our original prototype had, everything from Google that I could find, searching junk drawer, trying to find items that fit in those shapes. And it is very tough, especially like a plus shape. It's tough to find a real item. I think originally I had scissors that were opened. I don't know who has like open scissors in their junk drawer. But it was actually kind of tough. We had to brainstorm with our artists. Hey, if you can think of other things, by all means, like take creative liberty and just put them in there. And she did a great job. And so there were some that were like, okay, this is definitely, we want this one in. And there's some like, we don't have a great idea for this. So, go nuts, find something that you like and just draw it.
And she did a good job because she kept probably about half the items that were in our original just prototype, proof of concept. Mm-hmm. But then other half, she just found other ones to use that were better, or either maybe just more colorful or looked better from a graphic or illustrative standpoint.
Did it make more sense to kind of just include some random stuff that was going to kind of increase the color then? I mean, did you just tell the artist, just look, you just do what you want color-wise because we want to make this kind of bright and colorful and kind of interesting?
Yeah, that was pretty much exactly what we told her. We said we want this to be really, really vibrant with lots of different colors. And so if something would normally have like a brown handle, make it pink, or make it, like just where it makes sense, add color to it. And so that the items all stand out as you put them on the board.
And has that kind of given you kind of opportunities to kind of do, I guess, kind of themed expansions and stuff like that then? I can imagine you could do like a Christmas expansion with junk that you would find in a, Christmas cracker and stuff like that. I can imagine you could do like a Halloween one, different Halloween things and candies and stuff like that. So is that kind of, I guess with it leaving it open, you could put in it kind of pretty much anything, I guess.
That's funny you mentioned that, because when we were talking about like different themes and even different styles of themes, we had mentioned talking just with playtesters, over the last couple of years, like, hey, what do you think about a junk drawer theme? What do you think about these other themes? We're just kind of asking them more objectively, giving them options and see which ones they picked. And like some people said like, oh, junk drawer is really neat, but what if you make it more whimsical and made it, a superhero's junk drawer or a wizard's junk drawer, where a flashlight might be, the staff of light projection or something. I don't know, but we did come up even with like similar, like tangential, like junk drawer themes.
And is that a plan to put it into the, going forward? Is that a plan if, when the game funds down the line to maybe think about kind of expansions along that line? Or are you just waiting to see if what happens with the funding that you get at the moment?
Yeah, I don't know if we haven't really talked at length about any future expansions or additions of Junk Drawer. It's the type of game that everyone really enjoys it when they play it. We've even had, to be honest, people say like, oh, Junk Drawer, how exciting is that? But they play it and they're like, I get it. Like the theme matches the mechanics perfectly. But in terms of like second editions or expansions, I'm not sure if we're at the point where we're going to consider doing, Junk Drawer, edition 2 or like an expansion. Now, we might come up with like promo packs and things, because right now on our Kickstarter page, you'll see like we developed this game with 24 goals. And so and you only use 4 in a game. Sorry about that. And so you only use 4 in a game, but it comes with 24. So there's a whole lot of replayability there. Yeah. But actually talking with like a reviewer just a few months ago, he was asking about like Kickstarter exclusives and promos and additional things. And through that discussion, we did kind of come up with for like a new type of goal. So we have a promo pack that does include 4 unique goals to it. So
yeah. I'm kind of a bit funny about Kickstarter kind of exclusives and stuff like that, because not being funny, but 9 times out of 10 the Kickstarter exclusive seems to be the game. Just with the kind of the current climate and, people having kind of spare copies that they can then take to retail, is that a lot of the time, I think people are spending an awful lot of money is spending an awful lot of money on manufacturing and stuff like that, that actually having the kind of game there. I think Kickstarter exclusives are fine if you are going to be offering a lot of bloat. And I think there's some guys out there that just you expect, if they didn't do like a Kickstarter exclusive, then you'd be like, oh, what's going on here? Is something, are you not well? You're not feeling well? And I think we're kind of aware of like some of the bigger characters out there that all they seem to do is kind of like Kickstarter exclusive stuff that you'll never get back. So yeah, I kind of like the concept that you guys have got. So I'd be interested to see what else would be out there, basically.
All right, and to be clear, we're not calling them Kickstarter exclusives, and they're not going to be exclusive to Kickstarter. Yeah, they'll be promos. So we do have a 4 goals that are just a promo pack. So that everyone who backs the game will get it. Even the retailers, our retailer pledge, retailers will get the promo packs. And it's obviously something that, if we fund and we take the game eventually down the road to conventions and things like that, we'll have promo packs that just expand the game a little bit more. But we did consciously want to avoid the phrase Kickstarter exclusive, because we don't want people to think like the only way you'll get this promo pack is through Kickstarter. It's a Kickstarter exclusive. And if you miss the boat, then they're just, SOL.
Yeah, exactly. You, I'm guessing you went to Gen Con.
Yes.
Did you have a stand at Gen Con, or were you just along there to kind of pay a visit?
We didn't have a booth. What we've done almost every year, we've gone to Gen Con. So we've gone I think 6 times now. Mm-hmm. And I can't remember, Dave, if we went the first year, but the on all the other years we've we've participated in the First Exposure Playtest Hall, which is basically just a separate small little area that people go in, and when they go in there, they know they're signing up to play very rough games. Some games are just pen and paper. Mm-hmm. And so we go in there and get everybody who's in there knows they're going to be giving real feedback to games that they might see down the road. Yeah. And so we do that, and we do we went there. We actually had Junk Drawer with us, but we didn't have dedicated time to it. But right. The other games that we were testing were short enough. Each block is 2 hours. We're short enough that we were able in every session to pull out Junk Drawer and play a couple games. And we had a lot of people who came over and wanted to play Junk Drawer after they were done playing their other games. So I kind of wish we had dedicated a time slot to it, but it's one of those things where Junk Drawer was pretty much done, and we had a couple other designs we wanted to test. We had it there as a sort of after we're done.
So do you have quite a few other designs in the back burner then at the moment?
Yep. So we have 2 other games we're working on actively right now, I would say, and a bunch of other games that are in some stage of development. we do have a game that is signed. We're co-publishing with another publisher in which will likely be 2023. I can't say anything more than that, other than the game is signed, and we're still working on development. And then the other game we were working on is sort of a it's a tile placement game, but in a roll and write style. So it's called Dwarven Mines, and it's about a lot of games are just like, place tiles down and get whatever resources you cover up. This is, you have, let's just pretend there's just an open ground, and when you have to excavate tiles. So you have to excavate them and build buildings, but then you actually have to, you have to excavate and clear the area, and then you actually have to build a building on top of it to get any resources from it. So it's sort of a 2-layer design that we're working on that we've gotten a lot of good feedback on. So those are the 2 I think we're working on. We have a like I said, other ones that are in either just on hold right now. Mm-hmm. So those are the 2 main ones we're working on along with Junk Drawer. So it's been very busy.
With you, with obviously you both, having kids, is your focus? Are you bearing in mind these are games that people might want to play with their kids then? Because 10 Gallon Tank was extremely colourful and lovely. Junk Drawer again, very very colourful and lovely. At the back of your mind, are you saying, well, these are kind of like games I want to sit down and play with the kids when they're, they can play around quite simply when they're kind of like 3-4 years of age. Once they get to 5 or 6, we can actually play, properly. And once they get to 7 or 8, they can be whipping my ass on the table and making me cry.
My 6-year-old loves playing 10 Gallon Tank, and he's good at it. We'll going through and he'll beat me every now and then. Just, he understands that strategy. I don't know. I won't say it was a driving factor for us, but it was in the back of our minds, and knowing that it was a simple card game, one way to make it stand out is artwork. And so that was a huge focus for both games. And I think we probably mentioned last time we were on with you that our strategy has been, we have bigger games, but our strategy has been, we want, the smaller games that we have, we'd rather do those first and sort of learn. You could argue that maybe doing those, it's a tougher road because you don't have awesome minis or, huge play mats or anything like that people might instantly, back you without thinking about it. But at the same time, if you make a mistake on those campaigns, you might be underwater like some of the major publishers were. And so we started, Junk Drawer was sort of the natural progression from just a card game to just a tile laying game without a ton of components. And so that combined with, it is a family game, but it is a thinky game, especially the harder goals. We do have hard goals, medium and easy goals, and the hard ones are really thinky, and they challenge all the people who've played it. Nobody's been like, this is too simple, I don't want to play again. It's like, I didn't realize, how much each of these organizing this actually mattered. I want to play again.
How exciting was it to get signed when somebody said, right, I'm not interested in kind of sales figures, projections, or anything like that. Somebody says, look, I see the idea here. It's a good one. I'm gonna let's exchange contracts here, and we can work together.
Yeah, that was really interesting for what's going to be our 3rd game that we're co-publishing. We were at a convention in Baltimore called Unpub, and it's all for unpublished games. It's really a convention for designers and not publishers, but a lot of publishers attend these as people to go and play what are designers making, and they find games that they might be interested in signing. And so the other game that we had with us, we had a lot of people play it. Feedback was way better than what we expected, and we had been playing it with outside friends and families over the past couple of years, but this was the first time where we took it to a public event in person with a lot of people. And actually one playtester was playing, and he had, I think, talked with a couple of the publishers that were there and said, hey, you might be interested in this, go try it. And then we had a handful of publishers come play it, and they were just really impressed with it. So it was neat because we are also a publisher, and we want to obviously be a publisher as well. And so we talked a lot about, should we just publish this ourselves? Should we not? It's a game that has a lot more art assets involved. And so there's going to be just a lot more of an upfront cost. And right, if it's the game where we think might blow up a little bit more, working with someone who has a lot more connections just might make that happen better, or just might get the game out in front of more people, right, than what maybe me and Travis can do. So that was part of the decision as well. But it was very exciting. Like, it was kind of like a surreal weekend when we had multiple publishers, kind of share their interest and say, like, hey, let's, this is something we're interested in.
It's like, it's the opposite of kind of like, it's like with a Kickstarter, you put in so much work, as you're aware, on the marketing, getting the name out there, just getting people to notice and comment and, obviously pledge. And then to be on the other side of it, where you've got several people kind of courting you on the other side and saying, actually, how about if we did this for this and we could do this for you? And you're kind of like, you're saying, well, you've done all the work. You've still, you're still doing all the work. You're still doing all the development. But I guess if you're not if your marketing side of things isn't entirely your comfort zone, to have somebody coming in and just kind of saying, we're going to take this from you, must be, in my mind, that must be kind of like, it must be a really, really kind of cool feeling, as far as I can see. Has that, off the back of that, do you think this could be a stepping stone to get you away from Kickstarter and everything that kind of surrounds that? Or are you still going to use the Kickstarter platform regardless?
Tough question. I guess it depends on the nature of the game, but we do see this as an opportunity to build up, let's just say, our business coffers, and that's what we've been trying to do by incrementally producing these games. Is as we build a catalog, there's more opportunity that at conventions we could sell, the newest game we have plus our other games. We've actually found on this campaign we have sold a decent amount of copies of 10 Gallon Tank as an add-on to the original, to Junk Drawer, which is great for us because those are already produced. So we're able to just, add the shipping cost on and then ship them. But I think we would consider it, but we would need, probably some substantial amount. And I think the biggest thing is we need a big network. And that's, in talking with some of the publishers, I mean, we're definitely not there yet in terms of having a 20,000 person mailing list. That's something that somebody quoted to us, and we were like, "Holy cow! Like, how do you get 20,000 people on a mailing list?" Or you need to have 5,000 followers of your project on day one of Kickstarter to get funded day one. So those types of things are like metrics that we're looking at, and so Kickstarter does make sense for probably most of our projects for the near future. But again, being able to build up that and have additional money to put into and get that first run of a game without having to pay 10-11% in fees, that would be ideal.
Yeah, and then you do get these games that go out to publish and they really kind of set fire to the world, and people absolutely love them, and then they just become kind of like evergreens. I mean, and there is that chance for those. There's a lot of published games that kind of go out there that don't need the hype with Kickstarter. And the thing I find with Kickstarter, and is that, and you can understand with the people that I've spoken to in the last kind of, was it 6? Is it 6 years? Is it 6 years? Is it 6? Oh my goodness! It's 6 years now, right? Is that there are people that you see coming back again and again and again, but there are a lot of people that they've done their game and that's it, and they kind of disappear. And some of them kind of like they've done their game and they disappear, and some of them, like yourself, end up getting signed up into a publishing house, and then they're just ending up kind of producing games after game after game for them. So, so that's kind of cool. I'm conscious about the main mechanics So I am going to... I've got two sides of the alphabet I could pick, I guess. I'm going to open my drawer and I'm going to pick out the first... Right, so I've come out with there's a diary in here. So there was a diary and a mobile phone. So it could be telephone or diary. So I think I'm going to go to a diary and I'm going to ask David. Yeah. David, give us the base... Here we go. Give us the base mechanics. If I'm opening up my junk drawer, what can I expect to find?
Oh, so if you were opening your junk drawer, you're going to... Well, if you're opening one of my junk drawers, it's going to be a little messy. And if you're like me, you're going to want it to not be messy and you're going to want to organize it. And it's great to open up a drawer and see everything's like organized real nice. There's separation. Yeah. You don't have, kids' Play-Doh covering up your mobile phones. And so, but with Junk Drawer, the game, like I said, every player has their unique shaped items, and the goal is to get the most points. And at the end of the game, every of the 4 quadrants, the compartments are going to give you points based on that quadrant's unique goal and the tiles that you have in that corresponding quadrant. So that's kind of what the goal is with Junk Drawer. When you open it, you want it to see that everything is kind of laid out really nice in that specific organizational compartment. Is that right, Travis?
Absolutely. Nailed it.
There you go. That's what you want. Yeah, I'm a bit of a fan of the kind of like the shapey type of games and stuff like that. The kind of the spatial awareness type games. I think I'm kind of like you think I'm a Eurogamer, and it turns out no, actually I'm a kind of guy that just likes making stuff into shapes and then building it. I've been playing Tiny Towns recently, which is all about kind of making different shapes in order to build buildings, and I find that's in my happy little place. I wrote a review about it quite recently, and it was like my little kind of happy little place. If people are wanting to get into your... That sounds weird. That's another question that's come out and says, why am I saying that? But if people want to go out to your happy place, they can pledge. And if they pledge $35, they get the base game, which is about £29. And if they pledge $65, they get 2 copies of the games with 2 promo packs as well. And if they want the print and play version, it's just $9 to get that. And that gets you a copy of the Junk Drawer print and play delivered through the Pledge Manager. Or if you want to just, and I'm going to start saying this, if you want to just jump on and show a little bit of support and then help spread the word of Junk Drawer throughout your own little Kickstarter network, you can jump on and you can chuck a buck. And if you chuck a buck, then it'll tell everybody else that you've chucked a buck, and they'll be aware of the campaign. You've got at the time of recording. And I've set myself an editing task with this, I tell you, with computers and stuff. There's about 2 weeks to go. You're currently sitting on, it's about $12,600 out of an $18,000 goal. And that's what's left. That is what's left to go. Have I missed anything out, gentlemen? Is there anything else you would like to add?
One thing I would add, and that we actually just had kind of posted about an update, but one of the cool things about the game is, some people might not think it's cool, but we do. There is no player interaction, so everybody gets their own tiles, and so you could play this solo. You could play it with 4 other people. If you, like Dave and I usually have big board game nights, and it's harder to get these types of games to the table when you have a lot of other, for me, I live a little bit further out than where, most of the people are concentrated. So when I have a game night, I send it out to 15 people and I expect that 5 will come, but sometimes 10 show up. And so it'd be hard for me to pull out, puzzle games like this, with just a copy, but the 2 copies actually expands the game from 1 to 4 to 1 to 8. So again, there's no player interaction. Everybody just needs their own set of tiles, their own board, one set of the goals, and you can do that. So that is definitely, I think, a selling point. It's a savings of $5 and it's going to be a savings of shipping too. But that is one of the unique things of expanding the game just by buying multiple copies. I do like when games have that ability.
Yeah, especially when it's like I was at the board game club on Friday, and it's the second time I've been there since 2 odd years, and there was people still turning up that I hadn't seen for like 2.5 years. So there was ended up like 8 or 9 of us around the table, and it was kind of like we ended up playing we ended up having to split the group, which is rubbish.
Yep.
So you ended up like banishing 2 people over there. You go over there, and we'll have a 6-player game of this game, which was again Tiny Towns. But we also tried March of the Ants, which is one of Tim Eisner's games, and that's complicated and lovely and tricky. But it was kind of good fun. But you know, the having a game where you can say, well, we can do 8 players. Let's face it, buy 3 copies and bring yourself in 12 players. You know, have a dozen people round. Pretty much. Gonna do that. That's fine. So the Kickstarter is live, as I said just now. It's got about 2 weeks left. If people... Now, obviously we said this last time, but if people want to find out where you exist on the internet webs, where do you exist on the internet webs, Travis?
Twitter is our biggest presence. We are very active on Twitter. So it's at Winsmith Games, all one word, no spaces, no symbols. That's where you can find us, interact with us. We post a lot there, and we interact through DMs as well. So I would say that's the biggest place. We do have a website, winsmithgames.com. You can go there, and it links to the Kickstarter. It links to if you want to buy a copy of 10 Gallon Tank. Although I would suggest if you did want to get a copy of 10 Gallon Tank and you're interested in Junk Drawer, pledge through the campaign, and you can get an add-on copy of 10 Gallon Tank that way. But those are the 2 main. We do have a presence on Facebook. It's not nearly as big as what we are on Twitter, but we're working to change that. It's sort of like there's only 2 of us, and there's a ton of platforms. I'm thinking about starting a Winsmith Games TikTok here soon. Do that? No, I'm not. But
it's you know, I was a big poo-poo but you know, it's like ridiculous. It's like I put one on TikTok, which is just me holding kind of like the Tiny Town box and just quite saying, it's not very tiny, is it? And it's like, you get 600 people looking at it. You know, it's like I can put like a well thought out tweet out there. You know, it's like, oh, I believe that in the essence of man, we're all kind of one massive energy that interacts until we return back to the cosmos at the end of our lives. So be positive to everybody else so we can build each other up in an energy point. And you get like 1 like, and it's like
boring.
From your mum. You know, exactly. Whereas I can like, I literally put a 5-second video, just literally says it's no very tiny, is it? And it's like, 710 views. It's like, what is going on with
Probably says more about our society in a bad way than in a good way.
I know. Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll make sure we put all those links in the show notes so we've got notes to show. If you want to keep an eye on what we're up to, you can't believe we just talked about TikTok. Then you can go to the various places on the internet webs. Just search for We're Not Wizards, you'll find us. If you're looking for the website, if you're looking for the podcast, you can go to we'renotwizards.com. If you're looking for the blog, you can go to we'renotwizards.co.uk. If you're looking for, we're on Twitter and we're on Instagram and we're on Facebook and we're probably on some kind of police watch list as well, to be perfectly honest. And if you like what you've listened to, and I hope you've liked what you've listened to, because I don't even know what this is going to sound like on the other side of it after my computer decided to break it for me. Then consider going to the Apple iTunes. Did they even call it the Apple iTunes? I don't even know. But if you do like the show, then consider giving us a rating or a review. And as we say, if you are going to give us a rating or review, don't give us 10 stars because it makes us big-headed. But don't give us 1 star because it makes us cry. Give us something in the middle, like a 5, because it's average, and I'm just a little bit average.
Hey, Richard, I got a question.
Yes. Yes.
I got a question for you, because I see this on Twitter a lot, on some posts, like, where did We're Not Wizards come from? Because I see lots of posts about, joking that you are wizards.
See, there's 2 ways to look at this, okay? Right? If you look at the actual... Right, okay. Basically, right, I used to go to a board game club, and I still go to the board game club. When I used to go to the board game club, there was a person at work who shall remain nameless, Tristan, who used to say, "Oh, you're gonna be like, waving your magic wand. You're gonna be like, going, you shall not pass," and everything like that. And I was like, "You're very funny." And I says, we're just not that kind of thing. It's not. I don't play Dungeons and Dragons. I'm not a wizard. And it kind of came from there. But the other way to look at it is if you look at the handle, it actually doesn't have the apostrophe in it, so it's "were not wizards." So were we not wizards in the past, and now we are wizards? And I'm just going to leave that. It's kind of like the end of Inception, where you've just got to decide, am I spinning my wizard hat on the table and I'm waiting for it to fall or not fall? And it cuts just before the end kind of thing. So that's where it came from, kind of thing. It's kind of like you're all going to turn around and realise that I've been looking at the notice board behind you and just making up some kind of mad story. But that's what it's at. Yeah, so there's only 2 more things to do. The first thing is to say goodbye. So it's a goodbye from the wonderful, amazing, he is a set of scissors that's been stuck under some white tack. It is Travis.
Bye.
Say goodbye, Travis. And he is literally that key that used to work in the shed but now doesn't work in the shed because the shed's lock has now been changed and you don't remember what the key is that opens the shed. It is David. Say goodbye, David.
Bye, thank you.
Actually perfect for him.
And it's a goodbye from me. Remember, stay safe, roll 6s. And look, you've got junk drawers. You know you've got junk drawers. I know you've got junk drawers. We've all got junk drawers. It's about time you turn that actual fact into a cardboard reality. So go out and check out junk drawers. But until the next time, goodbye.
A wizard is never late. Nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to.